Okay, so today we're going to continue our lesson on parabolas. Today we're doing horizontal parabolas. Yesterday we did vertical parabolas. They were either opening up or they were opening down. Today we're going to do horizontal ones where they'll either face right or left. Okay, so notice, look at this picture here. Let's go ahead and label the different parts like we did yesterday. This point on the inside, what is that called? The focus. And let's go ahead and write the definition here. It's just like it was the other day. The focus is a point inside the parabola. Also, we're going to go ahead and label the directrix. This vertical line here is the directrix. Do you guys remember the definition of a directrix? Yes, I heard someone say it. It's a line outside of the parabola. So let's write those definitions down. So that doesn't change from yesterday. What does change is the direction that it's opening. So when I have a positive equation, it'll open to the right, meaning it'll look like this. If I have a negative in front of my equation, it will open to the left, meaning it'll look like this. My arrows will be pointing to the left side. Something else that is important today is notice our equations are different. Yesterday we had y equals. Today we have x equals. X equals, and the y is on the inside. These are some different things. Another thing is that h and k are switched. K is now on the inside and h is on the outside. So we have different equations today. So my vertex is still going to be HK. That is still my vertex. H is your x value, K is your y value. Okay, just like normally you have x comma y. When we do the vertex, we just call it H and K. Just like the alphabet, H comes before K. Just like the alphabet, X comes before Y. So this is the format. Now this time, the axis and symmetry will be Y equals K. So just write down the notes. We're going to do an example so that it all makes sense. All right, example 1. We're going to go to the first example. Okay. So first of all, which way is this going to open? It's going to open to the left because there's a negative right here. So this will open to the left. It'll look something like this. It'll face the left side. Now, my vertex is always H first and then K. But guys, notice, let's look at our notes. Our H is on the outside this time. The K is right here on the inside. So let's go to this first example. This is H and this is K. So my H value is 4, my K value is 1. It's not negative 1, it's just 1. Because the formula, I'll write the formula, is x equals negative 1 over 4p y minus k squared plus h. This is the formula. There's already a minus sign in here. I just want this k value. The k value is 1. So if you want to think about it, it's always the opposite, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and graph what we have so far. My vertex is at 4, 1. Everyone go ahead and plot 4, 1 on your graph. It's right here. This is our vertex. And I know it's pointing to the left. So let's just just graph it. Let's sketch it. It'll go this way. It'll face the left. All right, now let's talk about the axis of symmetry. If I were to split this graph right down the middle, if I split this in half down the middle, what axis did I cross? The x-axis or the y-axis? Yep, this line goes through the y-axis where? 1. So that means my axis of symmetry is y equals 1. And notice it matches this number. So it's opposite from yesterday. All right, now let's talk about the p-value. Let's talk about the p-value. So guys, let's look at the equation up here. We have to focus on the denominator. The way you find the p-value is you just divide it by 4. So my denominator here is 4. What's 4 divided by 4? 1. So that means my p-value is 1. That's how you find the p-value. You divide the denominator by 4. Okay, so now that I know what my p-value is, I can figure out where to draw my focus. The focus is a point inside of the parabola. So I'm going to go inside 1 space. That's where my focus is. The directrix, the definition of a directrix, is that it's outside of the parabola and it's a line. So I'm going to go 1 space outside, which is right here. I'm going to draw my line. That's my directrix. So I'm going to draw an arrow and label it. This is the directrix. This is the focus. The focus is a point inside. Directrix is a line outside. And let's see the location. The focus is here at 3, 1. So my focus is 3, 1. And the directrix, what axis did I cross? Yep, where did I cross the x-axis? At 5. So my directrix is x equals 5. Now let's talk about the domain and the range. It'll be different today. Domain, you always read from left to right, okay? So let's start on the left side, and let me highlight. This is the left side of my graph. Y'all see arrows on the left side? What is it pointing to? Negative infinity. So everyone go ahead and write on the left, it's negative infinity. Infinities always have a parenthesis, so it should be parentheses, negative infinity. All right, now let's move to the right side of the graph. Well, here's the right side right here. Where's that at? 4. So everyone write 4. So that is your domain, and it'll be a bracket at 4. Numbers get a bracket, infinities get parentheses. Now let's talk about the range. I'll highlight in a different color this time. I'll do green. Okay, range you read from the bottom to the top. So the bottom is right here, and there's an arrow. So what is it pointing down to? Yep, negative infinity, yes? So that means my range is negative infinity. And here's the top. It's an arrow. So infinity. So that is my domain and range. So it's switched now. Yesterday, your domain was always all real numbers. Today, your range is all real numbers. All right, let's do example 2. You guys ready to move on? All right, example 2. Let's look at the information they gave us. They gave us the vertex is negative 3, 0. So go ahead and plot the vertex. They also told us the focus is negative 1, 0. So graph both of those points. Here's my vertex. And here is my focus. Now, I saw a lot of students confused on how to draw the picture. Remember, the focus has to be inside of the parabola. If I drew it up, That's not inside of the parabola. If I drew it down, it's not inside the parabola. If I drew it to the left, it's not inside the parabola. The only way this would work is if I drew it this way. Now my focus is inside of the parabola, okay? So you need to draw it to the right. So everyone, for opens, right, right. Okay? Guys, what is the distance between the vertex and the focus? How far apart are they? There are 2 spaces, so that's my p-value. The p-value is how far apart they are. So guys, if my focus is 2 spaces away, how far is my directrix? 2 spaces away. So I'm going to go back 2 spaces. This is where your directrix is. So that's the x-axis at -5. So my directrix is at x equals -5. All right, next part. Let's do the axis of symmetry. If I split this graph down the middle, that crosses the y-axis where? It's not here. It's not at 2. Where is this at? 0. The axis of symmetry is at y equals 0. All right. Next part is just the equation. All right, so I'm going to write the equation for it. It's facing the right. So in your notes, they have it like this. X equals 1/4p y minus k squared plus h. That is the equation in your notes. Now, just like we did yesterday, we're going to replace what we know. So I'm going to erase the p, and what did we say p was? We said p value was 2. So I'm going to put a 2 in there. I'm going to put a 2 right here. Now, guys, notice it is switched. Everyone, please write this down. For your vertex, this is H and this is K. Notice in your formula, they switch it. Okay, it is switched. So I'm going to erase this K, and K is 0. So I'm going to put a 0 right there. My H value is -3. So I'm going to put a -3 there. We don't really need the plus sign anymore. Okay, so now let's just simplify our formula, our equation. I get x equals 1/4 times 2 is 8. Y minus 0 is just y, and then you have a -3 on the end. So this is your equation when you simplify it. All right, now let's do the domain and the range. Domain, you always start on the left, and then you move to the right. So here is the left part. The left is at -3. So I go from -3 on the left. On the right side, I have arrows. So that's infinity. Now let's work on the range. The range is the bottom to the top. So here's the bottom. That's an arrow. So that's -infinity. And then on the top is an arrow. So that is also infinity. You can also write it like this. All real numbers. You could also write the domain as all the x values are bigger than or equal to -3. All of these x values are bigger than -3. Everything is to the right of -3. All right, so that's example 2. Are we ready for example 3? All right, example 3. We have the focus. So I'm going to graph the focus. The focus is at 4, -3. So 4, -3 is right here. That is my focus. The directrix is at x equals 8. And yes, it's off the page, but I'll guess it's about right here. It's about right there. So I'm going to draw my directrix. It's about right there. Let me make it a little bit better. My directrix is about right here at 8. Okay, so that means my vertex has to be in the middle. So right in the middle would be right here. This is where my vertex is. And the only way we can draw it so that the focus is inside would be to draw it like this. So the focus is inside, the directrix is outside. So I know it's opening to the left. The vertex is at 6, -3. The axis of symmetry, if I were to split this perfectly down the middle, it crosses the y-axis at -3. So my axis of symmetry is y at -3. It's always going to be the same as this y value here. Those should match. Okay, now is the p-value. So the p-value is the distance. So how far apart are these? 2. They're 2 spaces apart. So that means my p-value is 2. All right, I have all the information that I need to write my equation. So guys, it is facing the left. So I'm going to copy down the formula for when it's facing the left. There will be a negative in the front. 1/4p parentheses y minus k squared plus h. This is in your notes. So you will be using this formula all throughout this unit. It's in the notes for you. Now we just copy and paste. I'm going to erase the p, and I'm going to replace it with what we said p was. The p value is 2, so I'm going to put a 2 there. Now, guys, this is the important part. K and H are switched. We want to know what K and H are. So this is the K value, and this is the, this is the H value, and this is the K value, H and K. I'm going to put K inside of here and H out here. So when I simplify my answer, I'll have x equals -1/8, because 4 times 2 is 8. 2 negatives make a positive, so this will be y plus 3. So this is your answer. That is your equation. You have to remember that this is H and this is K. You put K inside of here and you put H out here. Okay? The domain, you go left to right. So the domain is -infinity to 6, and the range is always the same, all real numbers. Okay, we just have one more example left. Just one more. Okay. Example 3. They gave us a picture this time. So there's a lot that we can tell from this picture. 1, the vertex is right here. So guys, write down the vertex. The vertex is -1, -1. It's also opening to the left. They gave us the directrix. It crosses the x-axis at 1. So for directrix, put x equals 1. Guys, how far is the vertex from the directrix? Yep, it's 2 spaces away. So that means my p-value is 2. This is 2 spaces away. So my p-value is 2. Okay, so if my p-value is 2, that means I can go 2 spaces inside, and this is my focus. So my focus is at -3, -1. And my axis of symmetry, if I split this down the middle, it crosses the y-axis at -1. So that is all the information that I pulled from my picture. Now you just write the equation. So it's facing the left, so this will be my equation. -1/4p y minus k squared plus h. All right. And guys, remember, this is h and this is k. So I'm going to erase all of this information. My p-value is 2. I'm going to erase k and h. I'll close it. So k goes in here, it's -1. H goes out here, it's -1. So let's just go ahead and simplify this. X is -1/8. 2 negatives make a positive. So this is your final answer. And then, of course, domain is left to right. So it's facing the left, so it'll be -infinity on the left, to -1 on the right. And your range is always all real numbers. So you can write it like this or like this. For the domain, you can also write x is less than or equal to -1. All of these x values are smaller than -1. So x is less than or equal to -1. All right, that is it.